This is live. Yes, we're back. I'm Pat Murray. Welcome to TV Skywriter. So happy to be back. I was off for a few weeks. Let me apologize in advance. I've got a cold, so you might hear a little coughing, but that's okay. This is live TV, and it's very exciting, and I'm very, very happy to be here. Got a very cool guest on tonight. Axel Foley is in charge of the People's Channel in Chapel Hill and Durham Community Media here in Durham, North Carolina. Now, if you don't know about cable access television, you're going to learn about it tonight. Welcome to the show, Axel.
Well, thank you for having me, Pat. I really appreciate it.
Well, I'm a huge fan of cable access television. I got involved in it in Chicago, my hometown, way back in the 1980s. But a lot of us still don't know what it's all about, so could you tell us what cable access television is?
Sure. So what public access television is an opportunity for people in a hyper-local situation, in a town, a city, to make content for television. So basically what we do is we broadcast what our producers from either Durham, Chapel Hill, or Carborough, or a little bit of the surrounding area, what programs they make. We not only broadcast those programs, but we offer people an opportunity to take classes as well as the equipment to make those shows. So what normally happens is a person comes in for orientation. Those are the second Thursday of the month in Chapel Hill at our studio in Chapel Hill at 6 p.m. and the fourth Thursday of every month at 6 p.m. in our studio in Durham. They learn a little bit about us, and then they decide, hey, let me become a member. Once they're a member, membership is $50 for an individual, $125 for an organization, and for an organization you can have up to 6 people be a part of that organization and be a member. And that
that's
membership,
for the whole year, right? Yes,
that's on a yearly basis, and that membership entitles you to take our classes, whether it's our HD camera certification class, Final Cut Pro, iMovie. Once you've taken our camera certification class, you can actually use our high-def cameras for free as long as the content that you make is given back to us to air on the station. It also entitles each individual to 1 hour per week of programming, and each organization 2 hours per week of programming. So that's what we do. What public access is we're part of what is called PEG stations, public access, education, and governmental. So we're the public access part of this. And this goes back to the 1970s when people had the opportunity to first use handheld cameras, when you could first take a camera. And back in those days, we were talking about a camera that's like a shoulder-mounted camera.
That's the one I learned on, yeah.
Yeah, a big battery pack. And so what we had is, at the same time that we had these cameras that people could go out into the field with, cable television became prominent. Now, in order for cable broadcasters to get their signal to people, they have to use the public right-of-way, which is underground or on the telephone poles or the cable poles. Now, there's an agreement. Back in the day, there were some very progressive people who came up with the idea, if we're going to have these local cable operators, because back then there weren't these huge conglomerates, Time Warner, Comcast, Cox, all these huge people. There was little guys. There was Chapel Hill Cable, Carborough Cable. And in order to rent that public right-of-way from the city or town, part of the agreement was, well, we want space on your delivery system, which equates to channels. So we're one of those channels. We're the public access part of that channel. And we exist through funding from the state and the city on the local level, and most importantly, from the fees that we get from people becoming members, people taking classes, and through our production services. We actually go out and shoot video for other nonprofit organizations, professional video,
Mm-hmm.
that they pay us to do, and that's a large part of our budget, as well as, hint, hint, donations. We love donations. So if you love watching our programs like Democracy Now! Or any of our great local programs, like soon to be, the Durham Skywriter is going to be premiering soon on our channels, then, send us a check. We love it.
Cool. Now, you know what I like about, I'm going to start saying public access. Sometimes I do say cable access. I will start saying public access. But you know what's really cool about it is that it's almost as if they anticipated the new millennium, in that the do-it-yourself movement,
Right.
Making your own music, making your own movies, making your own television. It's almost as if they saw it coming before we saw it. I say we, I mean just the users of home computers and whatnot. It's amazing to me that you can think about having a TV show and actually produce it with your help.
Yeah, I mean, it is fantastic, and you're absolutely correct in the sense that it was the precursor to, like, a YouTube. What we're doing now, a Google Plus. It was the precursor to that, and the fact of the matter is what makes it so interesting is that if you go on to YouTube and you search something, it's great because you're getting content from all over the world. That's fantastic. Yeah. But how about when you want to refine that search to, hey, what's happening in my community? It's often so difficult to do that. I mean, I've tried. One of the ways that I do outreach is I go on to YouTube and I try to find what are people making in this area, and then I contact them and say, hey, put it on our station, because this way you're going to get in touch with those people who are living next door to you, living down the street, those businesses, those nonprofits, those organizations. You have that hyper-local feel. But yeah, the do-it-yourself, which is really an ethos that is really important to me, is really what we teach. We teach a class. Our camera certification class is only 2 days. So you get enough training to know how to use the camera. But to further that, you've got to do it yourself. You've got to push through with that same kind of creative energy. But we're there to help you. Whenever someone has a question, every day I get emails, phone calls. Hey, how can I make my show better? How do I use this camera in this way? So yeah, that's a really interesting fact. But in a way, that new media has, in a sense, for many public access stations, become a competitor. Because people are like, oh, why do I have to come there when I can just upload it, to YouTube? Well, the fact of the matter is, try to get help from YouTube.
Yeah, right.
Try to get help from Google to make your video pop, to make it better, to learn how to write something, to learn how to use a camera. That nothing beats that local person. We always have people dropping by the station and asking us questions, and we help people, and it's a real community of people, our stations.
Well, let me ask you, you're no longer using the El Giganto cameras. What kind of cameras are you using now?
We currently have 2 types of cameras. We still have some standard definition cameras, and those are DVX 100Bs, Panasonics. And just within the last year and a half, we have new Panasonic AC90s, which are HD cameras. They have dual SD cards. They're widescreen, full HD. They're really fantastic cameras. So we're also looking, hopefully within the next year or so, to get some DSLRs like the Canons that have the really nice lenses. I'm interested in getting some GoPro cameras, that you can mount up. Yeah. So we try to have a variety of those.
Okay, so those Panasonic cameras you mentioned, how big are those?
Let's see if I can show with my hands. They're about this big. They're normal, what we call in the business prosumer, professional consumer cameras. They're not, $100,000 red cams, but they'll shoot full HD. You have your XLRs, so you're getting professional audio. But they're not so intimidating that a person couldn't learn how to use them in the course of a 6-hour class. So they're good enough to get that great picture, but not so advanced that they'd be intimidating for a new person to learn. They're actually very easy to learn.
That particular camera, is that called a 3-chip? I've asked people, what kind of camera they have when I see them at the skate park, whatever, and sometimes they say it's a 3-chip camera. I don't know what that means.
Right. Well, that would actually, for a standard definition, the term 3-chip was really important, because that basically meant that there was a red, green, and blue, separate chips for our main colors.
Okay.
But when you're dealing with high-definition cameras, they kind of changed over to what's called a CMOS chip, and that integrates those in it. So it's not so much, we wouldn't call an HD so much importance over it being a 1-chip, 3-chip. It's really kind of the size of the chip and what it can do.
Okay.
Technology changes so rapidly,
Tell me about it. So let's let the audience understand that you are actually representing 2 different channels. I'm in Durham, so I know you from Durham Community Media, Channel 18 on Time
I'm in
Warner
Durham too.
Yeah, but as far as Chapel Hill, that's a separate operation.
Right. So we run 2 different stations. We are the People's Channel in Chapel Hill and Carborough. We're Channel 8 in Chapel Hill on Time Warner. We're Channel 4 in Carborough. In Durham, we're Channel 18, and we're called Durham Community Media. So we actually run both of those stations. And when I say we, I mean the team that I work with, which is Monica Hughes, who is our Director of Programming, Ivan Ross, who's our Creative Media Director, and Sandy Onstadt, who's our Business Manager. So we're just 4 people, and we run both stations, and we're doing our best, and also we get a lot of help from interns, volunteers, producers. So it's a real community effort.
Do you happen to know how the People's Channel started? Because I know the People's Channel is older than Durham Community Media. Do you know how they started?
Yeah, actually the People's Channel is a little over 15 years old, and what happened was there was a group of concerned citizens in the community who felt that the public access channel could be doing more to educate and offer more equipment, programs, and classes for the people in the Chapel Hill community. So they got together, they created a non-profit 501c3, and then they petitioned the town to run the station in lieu of Time Warner, who was at the time running the station. The town and Time Warner agreed, and they then, created a business. They hired a station manager. They built out the station. This was the community that did this. This was volunteers. Nice. Some of the people are still on our board. Most notable of which is our board president, Vimla Rajendran, who runs Vimla's Curry Blossom Cafe in Chapel Hill. She's our board president. She's one of the founders of the People's Channel. And they, with their own sweat and hard work, they built the walls, they put the server together, they put the studio together. And that was a little over 15 years ago, and we're still going strong. About 5 years ago, I came to the People's Channel, and about at that time, our previous executive director, Chad Johnston, had been contacted by another group of concerned citizens in Durham. There was a lot of consternation over whether the public access station in Durham would continue, whether the city and Time Warner wanted to put the time, the money, and the effort into continuing the station. And they asked for our help in guiding them to doing the same thing that was done in Chapel Hill. Well, through the process, it became apparent that we would be the best people to do that, not just to help them, but they asked us, this committee asked us, can you run the station?
Hmm.
and
I said
and we
yes.
agreed. And that was the that's when Durham Community Media was born.
Nice. Now, like I said, I've been involved with public access TV, at least in Chicago, since the 80s. What I used to do was to provide music for there was Channel 27, I believe it is, where they just have running text of community events, and they would play music of local composers. So I would provide music for that channel. And some of the shows that were on Channel 19 were so amazing at the beginning.
I'm
There was a
sure.
show called Sock Hop with the Cops, which is a dance show like Soul Train, where they had like middle school age kids dancing around, and the hosts were policemen from different suburban cities. And they were, as you can imagine, they were not comfortable, not glib, not able to dance. And I mean, the kids were great. It was a hilarious show. There was another show. There was a Nazi show.
Oh, okay.
They were obligated to air it because they were
Mhm.
citizens of Chicago. And then when people complained about it, they were obligated to take it off. So there were no complaints there in terms of being fair. So I'm wondering what kind of shows you started out with on the People's Channel.
Oh gosh, we have so many shows from In Praise of Age, which is a show about seniors and what they're doing in the community and how they can better their life. We have a wide variety of spiritual religious programming from, I mean, any type of, whether you're Jewish, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist. We have it runs the gamut. We have a show called Oh Yeah, Watch This, which my good friend Charlie does, which is just a series of snippets of people doing outrageous things, whether it's saying the alphabet backwards or jumping through a hoop of fire.
Wow.
Yeah, he goes out to a lot of the local music venues, and he'll take a snippet of a song, or he'll shoot a concert. We have I mean, the shows are countless that I could mention, and that's the great thing about public access, is that whatever you want to make, you know, what I always like to say is we're a neutral conduit for people's media. We don't judge it. As long as your technical specifications are there, it has audio, it has video, it's the correct aspect ratio. As long as you're not, calling for violence, or you're condemning anyone illegally on the program, it's fine. We do play some adult content after 11 p.m. Just as you would see on like an FX or a Comedy Central or something like that. But we don't judge the content. We just make sure that it's technically the technical specifications and the legal specifications as far as copyright and all that is cleared. But past that, we have some programs that, hey, what I always say to people is, when you make that first show, it's not going to be perfect. You know, you're going to build over time and get better and better. So some of our shows, some people may think that they look amateurish, and yet we have other programs that are super professionally made programs from people who have been doing this for years.
Sure.
So it runs the gamut,
Well, to
and
me,
that's what's
part
so
of the charm.
exciting and interesting.
That's part of the charm to me.
I'm sorry,
because
what's that?
I was saying that was
Yeah.
part of the charm. When I was living in Chicago, whenever I would turn on the TV, I would always turn to Channel 19 first, because I wanted to see what was happening. Some of the shows are just so hilarious. Some were just great in terms of content. And in fact, I just want to mention some of the types of shows that they have in Chicago. I don't have cable, so I have not seen Durham Community Media, so I can't speak to what you have. But what I wanted to do was to mention just some ideas, because what I actually want to do, I want to draw more people in. I want more people to use and to become producers at People's Channel and Durham Community Media. So I'm just going to mention some things, some show ideas. In Chicago, there's a lot of different ethnic groups. So you'll see groups from the Polish community, of course, the Black community, Puerto Rican community. All the different ethnic groups are there. All different types of church services. There's strange shows where, I shouldn't say strange, interesting shows where someone will read from the Bible, a young person usually, and an older person will interpret it. That's very entertaining sometimes because sometimes the interpretation is quite creative. There's a lot of shows where nonprofits will have the young people or volunteers to be the crew. Because, young folks love technology.
Mm-hmm.
So very often, and you did say companies can have up to 6 members, right? As part of their membership?
Right. A nonprofit organization or an educational, they can have more. But yeah, you can have up to 6 members as part of your membership.
Okay, I've seen organizations get grants so that they can pay for the training of their young people to be the crew for their show. Yep. There are people who rent the. I'm using the term rent. Is that incorrect? Borrow the cameras.
That's what we call. We call cameras. It. Yeah, we call it renting. Yeah.
Okay, I've seen shows where people rent the cameras and take them to special events, like here would be the Bembe Festival, or I've seen people film birthday parties on pleasure boats. I've seen people, what's really interesting, when people go to controversial community town hall meetings, that's really interesting. So I'd love to see people do stuff like that. I just wanted to mention some things just in case people are thinking, what kind of show could I do?
Yeah. People do. We've had all types, whether it's like you're saying, community events, shows that highlight ethnic diversity or certain ethnic events. We've had cooking shows, sports. We have sports shows. We've had shows that are investigative. We've had a lot of younger kids do shows too. We don't limit that. A young kid can come take a class with us. They just need their parents or guardians' permission when taking out a camera. But we've had that. Actually, right now, we're in the midst of signing people up for our summer camp, and we're always running the summer camp videos that we made in our very successful summer camp last year. Our summer camp's running right now. It's starting July 14th. We're running 4 weeks. We're doing a comedy, superhero, sci-fi, fantasy, and scary movie. So they're 1 week each from July 14th until August 8th. It's $375 for 1 week. It's 9 to 3 p.m. And the kids just have a blast. We have a great teacher. His name is Stuart Nelson. He's had over 30 years experience in Hollywood, here in North Carolina. He's actually currently working on a really fantastic documentary about one of the first black school board leaders in North Carolina. So he's really involved in the community, and that camp is very DIY too. We want kids to come in there using our equipment because membership is a part of that. Once the camp is over, we still welcome them back to take out the equipment and continue making movies. Nice. That's how I started out.
Really?
My history with film and video is when I was a little kid. My mom was a single mother, and my sister and I, my brother was a little bit older, but my sister and I didn't have anything to do after school. And my sister became interested in dance, so she wanted to take some ballet and jazz and tap classes. And my mom was like, look, I can't be driving so many different places, so you're going to go with your sister. So I ended up taking, some dance. I mean, you wouldn't want to see me dance now, but I ended up taking some dance classes, and this school was also an acting school. So I started acting, and I was maybe about 10 or 11 years old. And I was a star of this program called Kathy's Cable Kids. It was on suburban Cablevision. It was on the local public access station. And that really got me so interested that I borrowed my father's little VHS-C camera, and I started making movies with my friends.
Awesome.
And I wish that the local public access station in my town at that time had the equipment and the classes that we now offer people in the Chapel Hill, Carborough, and Durham community. I would have loved to taken a class, but I had to learn all on my own. So from the age of 10 until I went to college, my weekends were myself and a bunch of it was about 8 to 10 of my friends making movies. We must have made 50 to 100 short films. We'd write them while we were, supposed to be doing work at school. We'd be writing and passing notes back to each other about what we were going to make that weekend. And that's what that's what we're trying to encourage with the summer camp.
That can lead to a lot, That can lead to an awful lot because, the Durham Bulls games, baseball games, are actually televised by young people. Their camera crew, if I'm not mistaken, if they're still doing it, are Boy Scouts.
Yeah, we've had some of them come and take our classes that have worked there as interns. Yeah, that's really what I want to encourage. I mean, it's a real fantastic opportunity this summer camp for kids to come and learn how they can do it themselves, because what I find is a lot of people get into film and video and they go one of two ways. They either never invest the time in trying to make what they're doing look and sound better, or they invest too much time in that they're trying to attain a professional level of filmmaking that they see on TV. So it becomes so intimidating to them that they don't feel like they can create that, And
but
what
again,
we want to try
to me, the thrill of watching public access television is watching people that are right around the block from you, or people that you know.
Yeah,
to me,
definitely.
Because
Exactly.
I grew up like most people my age. I grew up watching shows that were produced mostly in New York and L.A.
Yeah.
And that kind of slickness, I'm 58 now. I don't even watch. I don't watch anything that's really on primetime television. I think I've seen most of that stuff already.
Right.
To me, it's more exciting to watch something local. That's just me.
A lot. Yeah. Well, a lot. They've, for a lot of popular, whether it's film or television, not all, because I'm a huge fan of film and television, popular film and television, but a lot of it is regurgitation, showing people the same thing over and over again. And one of the great things about public access is that we allow people the opportunity to experiment and be creative. And also, it allows them to express themselves in a way that they're not judged on, That's why I say we're a neutral conduit. We're not judging people. We're letting people learn to get better, or if what's really important to them is what they're saying, we can at least make sure the lighting is a little better, or the sound is a little better, so the quality doesn't detract from the message.
Okay. Oh, let me ask you this, Axel, because I honestly don't know the answer to this. In Chicago, you would be certified for either studio or I can't remember, on location shooting, and half the shows. It's so easy to do talk shows, so that's very, very popular back home. What about here in Durham and Chapel Hill? Do you have studio space also set aside so that people can do talk shows as well?
In Durham, we do not. We're not as well funded in Durham right now. Hopefully, in the coming months or years, that will change. I'm working my hardest towards getting the word out by, of course, appearing on things like this and getting more members so we can raise enough money to one day hopefully move into a building that has the capacity to have a studio.
That'd be awesome.
But we do offer field certification, so you can take the cameras out of Durham and shoot yourself. In Chapel Hill, We're actually in the process right now. Just yesterday, I was in there cleaning out parts of the studio, and what I'm looking forward to doing is having the studio up and running so we can be doing live shows all the time. I love live television. There's nothing that's more exciting and gets your juices flowing creatively. It can be a little nerve-wracking sometimes, but it's so much fun to do a live show. And what part of what I envision doing is having the cameras there, so anytime anyone walks in and wants to go live on the air, we'll sit down and talk to them. We'll interview them. I have a couple people who are waiting for us to kind of get the studio up and running. And what happened was, unfortunately, last year, like a lot of people in Chapel Hill, our studio was flooded. And we had about 3 inches of water in the entire place. So we had to take everything, we had to kind of clean out. It gave us a good opportunity to do a little fall cleaning, summer cleaning. I didn't hear about that. Yeah, and we moved a lot into the studio. So we're, I've only been on the job for a little over 2 months. So part of my process is, and my team is, to take that stuff out of the studio. We're donating some older stuff we have to the Restore in Durham and Chapel Hill, which then that money, they sell that, and that money goes to help Habitat for Humanity. So even when we try to do anything like that, we try to involve the community and try to find a way that we can help people. And once we can get that studio cleaned out, which is going to be within the next month, because we need to do it before the summer camp starts, we're going to be hopefully going live multiple times a day in the station. Yeah, we'd love to have you. Maybe you just stop by and say, hey, Axel, what are you doing? And I say, what am I doing? We're going live in the studio. Let's go, Pat. We just sit down, turn the cameras on, and go.
I would definitely do it.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun.
Okay. Now, people who are watching this, some might say, I don't know anything about television. I'd be excited to learn how to use a camera and to have my own show. But what about people, like, for example, I see a lot of young people at the skate park, and I can see them making their own videos. Yeah. So what if people already know how to use a camera? Can they approach you and say, I want you to air my show?
Yes, yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, most definitely. A common misconception is that you need to use our equipment to make your show.
Well, actually, that is the rule in Chicago, but if it's different here, that's great.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. You can make a show with your cell phone if you want. You can make a show with a small camera, a big camera. You can make a show of photographs. You can make whatever kind of show that you want to make. The membership entitles you, again, it's $50 a year for an individual, $125 for a group. And that entitles you to an hour of airtime for an individual, 2 hours of airtime for a group, and you can put on whatever you want to put on, again within those legal specifications.
Sure. Nothing inappropriate.
Yeah, I would say of our shows, about 95% of the programs we air are local programs, because we also air programs from Free Speech TV, like Democracy Now!, the Thom Hartmann Show. These are nationally syndicated shows that are available on Free Speech TV. Time Warner doesn't carry Free Speech TV, so they allow us to rebroadcast Democracy Now! That's probably our most popular show. But the other 95 to 98% are programs made by people in the community, and I'd say it's about 50-50, the number of people who use our equipment and the number of people who use their own equipment. So the membership entitles you to take the class, and then upon certification you can use our equipment. But if you have your own camera, that's great. And actually, I've been over to the Durham Skate Park to hand out business cards and to tell those kids that I see with video cameras, hey, come join the station. We'd love to have that on the air. I love skateboarding, and I love to see that. I'm always going over to the festivals or the food truck rodeos that they have in Durham Central Park, and the skate park's right over there. So I always hand out business cards and tell kids, At the local skate shops too, I stop by and tell them, hey, tell them to get their shows on the air. The same thing with a very popular thing among youth now is recording their video games. The new Xbox One and PS4, you can hit a button, record it, and it'll upload. And actually right now we're broadcasting an hour-long playthrough of Super Mario Brothers 3 that someone did. That they did like a speed run-through. I love that kind of stuff, and hopefully in the future we can start integrating that technology into our station, whether it's through an app, through a YouTube link. Even here we are on Google Plus recording this, and then this is going to air on our station. So we're not using any of our equipment to do this. I guess I'm equipment from the station, but this is what we're doing here. So with new media and new technology, it's really endless the ways that you can create a program to run on our station. So to answer your question again, you do not have to use our equipment, though you're more than welcome to. It's great professional equipment. We love when people take the equipment out. We encourage everyone to do so.
Sure. And what I'm going to do after the show's over, now this is going to become a YouTube video, obviously, but I'm going to put the contact information on the description so that people can get in touch with you, Axel.
Fantastic.
So thank you so much, Axel Foley, for coming on the show.
Well, you are more than welcome. It's really my pleasure, and I'm really looking forward to having, what do you call it, Skywriter TV?
TV Skywriter.
TV Skywriter, coming soon to the People's Channel and Durham Community Media. Thank you so much for having me. And what you're doing for the community and what you do not only with this, but your radio show is really fantastic. I'm really happy that we got back in touch and we're starting to have a partnership with each other. I'm really happy about that, Pat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Axel. Really appreciate it. So, folks, what I'm going to do is to put all the information that you'll need, the contact information, also information on the movie-making summer camps. Now, that's only going to be in Chapel Hill, not Durham, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, the space we have in Durham is not really adequate for the kids. We learned that last year, but kids from Durham, Chapel Hill, Carborough, the surrounding area are more than welcome. It's not you don't have to live in Chapel Hill to take the summer camp.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
so I will put that information as well on the description of the show. So thanks again, Axel.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate having you on the show. And if you would like to be a guest on TV Skywriter, just get in contact with me. You can write to DurhamSkywriter@gmail.com. Read the Durham Skywriter, which is Durham, North Carolina's online community paper. You can read that at DurhamSkywriter.com. Radio Skywriter is on WNCU, the jazz station, 90.7 FM. You can also listen to the broadcast on, actually you can catch old, episodes by going to iTunes or WNCU.org. With that, have a great week. See you next Sunday. Ciao.